logical infrastructures between our two nations to substantially lift up the two economies. The leaders of the two countries have visited the Lamu port being developed by a joint operation between South Sudan, Ethiopia and Kenya. Solomon Danye presents the story.
The Lamu Port South Sudan Ethiopia Kenya Transport Corridor, otherwise called Lamu Corridor, is a grand project jointly launched by the governments of the three countries, which when complete is supposed to facilitate and expedite trade in the East African region. The project will be the second largest transport corridor in Kenya, next to the Kenya-Uganda Transport Corridor. While visiting the progress of the port, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and President of Kenya Uhuru Kenyatta vowed to position the East African region as a global logistics center.
These kinds of infrastructure, mainly logistics, is very critical. There are lots of potential from Ethiopia's side, but without having infrastructure like the port and road connectivity, there is no way that we can export our goods from Ethiopia to the rest of the world, also to import the necessary input from other world. This kind of port is very critical, and we're very much happy to see the potential of Lamu, not only for Ethiopia, but also for other countries in our region. And this commitment should continue to connect the whole region and to develop our region. That is the only way out for East Africa.
My government is keen on promoting the development of the economic transport corridor to link Kenya with Ethiopia, and we see this as an important step in spurring bilateral social economic growth, as well as creating immense benefits across the region.
The two leaders have also committed themselves to make sure that the Lamu port facility significantly improves the livelihood of the people of the two brotherly nations by nurturing friendship.
We have to work hand in hand to change the life of our citizens. Also, we can easily transform Horn of Africa as long as each government is dedicated their time and resource to invest on infrastructure like my brother did here in Kenya. We're very much grateful to be here and to see the potential of Lamu and other areas in Kenya. I hope this will give us a great hope to work together and to exchange businesses, investment, trade, and to realize the vision of integrating the Horn of Africa.
Prime Minister, I recall fondly of my visit to Ethiopia in 2018, where you graciously took me on a tour of the industrial parks in Hawassa, and we subsequently resolved that our two countries would partner and collaborate in establishing a special economic city in Moyale so that cross-border trade can thrive with the resulting benefits of improving the livelihoods of our people. With that seminal proposal in mind, Kenya also plans to establish an industrial city in Lamu, which will serve the region and the world at large.
With all the unprecedented trajectory of infrastructure developments between nations of the region, the two leaders pledged to hash out peace and security issues so as to deal with potential impediments.
State Minister of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and State of Emergency, spokesperson Ambassador Redwan said humanitarian organizations ought to use access within a government-led coordination framework in order to provide assistance and services in Tigray state. Redwan said humanitarian agencies need to align their operations within the directions given by the federal government for their safety.
This country of Ethiopia has a functional government, and government always makes sure that its people will not suffer. Whenever government has difficulties, we only seek for assistance. So no entity, whether multilateral or unilateral, is supposed to supplant the government. So government is fully functional, government is capable. From our experience, as you might have known, it's not new for us to deal with humanitarian actions, whether with El Nino, whether with other droughts, whether with abject poverty due to lack of wetland, So there are a number of people who live based on the assistance, and then government is very honed, very experienced of such activities. So any partner, one, it doesn't cover the whole assistance. Still, he might express, from our experience, usually 60% of assistance always comes from Ethiopian coffer. So we are the ones feeding our people. So we need some assistance. So what the agreement meant was the government would coordinate, the government would lead. So whenever the government creates access to operate humanitarian action, then UN agencies would be on board. Whenever we say then it is not safe to be accessed, then UN and other entities of our partners have to comply to that. That goes with question of, I think, Catherine. Yes, some of the UN staffs were actually detained and some were shot at. Why that happened? So this country is not no man's land. It has a government. It only has difficulty in the north. So they were told in some of areas they were not supposed to move. But they indulged themselves to in kind of adventurous expedition. They broke 2 checkpoints to drive hastily to areas where they were not supposed to go, that they were told not to go. So they were left alone when they broke 2 checkpoints, and then when they were about to break the 3rd one, they were shot at and detained.
Responding to journalists, Redwan said Ethiopia does not need any external investigation into the Maikadra killings following the United Nations call for the independent monitors.
Police has its own procedures to go about it. I think it will be very soon the public may be allowed to hear some of the testimonies that they are given to the police, and we'll by then know what went wrong and what happened to the whole operation, which was waged against our defense forces, and what was the preparation, because we believe they were privy to most of the preparations, as it's now been evidenced by the evidences which are now discovered, like the underground tunnel and the caves, which are constructed within the office of the regional president. And then there are also other areas which are suspected to have the underground tunnels and kind of facilities. Then it will tell us that this attack was premeditated and well planned and ahead of time. And so many of the senior officials might have been privy to these objectives and preparation, so police might discover the whole story or part of the story, and then those which could be revealed to the public, which go in line with our judicial system, then that can be made public. Others which must be left to the court to judge, and they will be withheld. So we'll know what happened very soon. So we must wait until our police and Attorney General would provide us the details. And maybe we'll have a fourth briefing whereby we bring the federal police commissioners so that they can brief you, like we did the Authority General last time, and now Humanitarian Action Buteko, and we'll bring police commissioner next time, so you'll be briefed into the details.
A senior government official eyes a much more hopeful horizon in post-TPLF era to hold a free election. Talking to ATV here today, Zad Gabraha, a former TPLF official, now in charge of democratization with the rank of a minister, said the security concern in Ethiopia is improving so much so that most of the constituencies will witness election come mid-2021. He pointed out that election is an opportunity to practice democracy adding that democracy is an ongoing process, not only limited to elections. Goshu Malisa talked to him and compiled the following report.
The Ethiopian minister in charge of democratization, Zadig Abra, has spent some time with ETV English. On the occasion, he said that the security threat is pretty much improved now that Ethiopia is winning nearly all of the battle fronts in Tigray and the TPLF losing its last leg.
The security situation, our security situation is improving pretty much fast. And with TPLF gone now, it will be dramatically different. Our operation in Oromia, in Wallagga, is bringing food. Now the Onek Shani, if Shani is losing more than ever.
Commenting on the upcoming elections, Zadig said election is an opportunity to practice democracy, adding that as a developing practice, democracy should not be limited to elections. Ethiopia postponed a general parliamentary and regional election originally scheduled for August 2020 due to the threat posed by the coronavirus pandemic. The government has recently announced that the event, which brings a total of 547 parliamentary seats up for grabs among competitors, will be held in mid-2021. Zadig reaffirmed the government's commitment to hold truly participatory, free and democratic elections. He, however, warned that the event should not be expected to be perfect.
An election is an opportunity to make your democracy even one step deeper, to make it go further. It is not a magic wand, it's not a silver bullet that gets rid of every problem. This country has long inherited problems. We cannot be democratic overnight. But we have the will, the political will, we have the determination to make Ethiopia a democratic success. If you have that will in place, then the rest is about the process. So this election, our election, will certainly be much better than the previous ones, the previous first elections. But nobody can promise it will be the most perfect election. So if one is aspiring, if this comment is coming, stemming from the assumption that election should be perfect, that a perfect security situation should prevail before an election is to be undergone, that's wrong. You don't have a perfect security situation in the US. No country can claim to have achieved such a situation. Even election is an opportunity to do better in security. For the sake of election, government will do better to provide security, public good to its citizens. So we cannot precondition election to a perfect situation.
During recent discussions with Prime Minister Abiy, some of the opposition cited security concerns, less time for preparations, among others, as legitimate reasons to postpone the elections. Zadig doesn't share this view.
You know, we have postponed our election last time due to COVID-19. We cannot do the same. We cannot jeopardize the public's right to vote, to pick its own government because of pretexts. We have a security situation, we have problems, but largely the country is safe. Even in areas where there is a security problem, we can deliver security way before the election.
Citing the TPLF and the armed wing of the OLF masterminded ethnic clashes erupting in various parts of the country, Zadig said security is improving now that the TPLF is on its deathbed, while the armed wing of the OLF is on the run.
In Oromia, the election has lost. Now it's effectively sidelined in 2-3 wardas.
Zadig urged all political parties play their fair share in realizing free and fair election.
One of the fruits of the sweeping reform that Ethiopia had embarked up on a couple of years ago is the repatriation of Ethiopians who stranded in the thorny backdrops of different Middle Eastern nations through citizen-based diplomacy. According to the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dina Mufti, more than 5,200 Ethiopians were repatriated from different Middle East and Ivory nations. Ambassador Dina said the repatriation process was tough as Ethiopian migrants were found in different conditions, including prisoners.
ለምሳሌ የመን ወደ ሳውዲ የገቡና ተቸገሩት ብዙዎቹ እስር ቤት የገቡት
If we, for instance, take the case in Yemen, it is very difficult. Most of illegal citizens found in Saudi Arabia are those who pass through Yemen. It makes it tough to negotiate because countries like Yemen have no legitimate government, peace is at risk there. So it is challenging to even figure out with whom to deal with and repatriate our citizens. The situation has also created opportunities for human traffickers. It's not easy to hold these traffickers accountable because of the situation.
ፍርድ ማምጣት ወደ ፍትህ ማምጣት አይደንቲፋይ ማድረግ በጣም አስቸጋሪ ነው የሚሆነው
Though the government is trying its level best to repatriate citizens, a considerable amount of returnees who want to go back again remains challenging, Dina said.
ያለፉት በርካታ ዓመታት ብዙዎቹ ይመለሳሉ ተመልሶ ደግሞ ይሄዳል እዛ ቃል የሚገባለት የውሸት ዓለም አለ
We've been witnessing returnees going back to where they were before because of the false and delusional stories they hear about going abroad. They think that everything is supernatural out there, but the truth is on the contrary. Some of them were thrown from buildings by their employers, and a number of others were thrown behind bars. We're not saying that there is no opportunity at all, but leaving one's nation should not be the ultimate goal. The youth should take things into consideration before entering into a certain nation illegally. So all stakes, including families and religious leaders, should cooperate to deal with the issue. We can then reduce the magnitude of illegal human trafficking in our nation. But the root cause is unemployment. Thus we need to deal with it, even though it's a bit challenging for a developing nation like Ethiopia to address the issue in a short period of time.
ችግሩን ማስወገድ ይቻላል ህብረተሰቡ ከተባበረ
Women soldiers have played significant role in a law enforcement operation to make clear the state of Tigray from TPLF junta. Doga Baba is one of the members of the Northern Command. She expresses women's extraordinary role in the law enforcement operation against TPLF. Doga remembers what happened on 13th October 2020 in this way. Take a look.
ስሜ ዶቃ አበበ እባላለሁ የሰሜን እዝ የ23ኛ ክፍለ ጦር አባል ነኝ
My name is Doka Abebe. I am the member of 23rd Regiment at the Northern Command. Here I have lived in Tigray state for about 4 years.
ከነሱ ጋር በጣም ጥሩ የሚሆን 4 አመት ስቆይ በጣም ጥሩ ኑሮ ነው
During my stay here for the last 4 years, I and all the members of the Northern Command have been living together with the Tigray people. We have been participating in all social activities of the people of Tigray. Particularly, we have participated on preventive activities of the corona pandemic, locust prevention, and we have been always supporting elders in the harvesting season.
የነበረው ሁኔታ በጣም የሚገርም ነው ያው ተፈጠረው እንዳጋጣሚ እኛ ብዙ
I remember the day ahead of the attack on the Northern Command. I and my friends were supporting elders on farm. That really hurts to witness our friends killed and kidnapped. After the Northern Command was attacked, we retreated back to Eritrea. At that moment, we were sad because of TPLF's provoking attack. Then we got organized well and returned back. We have traveled for 16 hours at that moment. After 3 days in Eritrea, we returned into Takaze River checkpoints. The travel was difficult and boring. However, we were eager to fight with the TPLF force bravely. At the end, we are in a good position and make Tigray towns clear from TPLF.
ህብረተሰቡን አይወክልም ህብረተሰቡንም እንደማይወክልም ከነሱም ኢንፎርሜሽን ስለምንሰማ
We know that this inhuman deed could not represent the Tigray people. At that moment, the people themselves were in fear, and when we returned here, the people have supported us and expressed their solidarity for us.
ህብረተሰቡ አሁን በጥሩ ሁኔታ ነው ያለ። በቃ ሁሉም ስራ ጀምሯል።
Now, people are returning into their daily activities after the towns are under control by the National Defense Force. We have been working to normalize the situation as far as possible and to bring criminals for justice.
መከላከያ ሲባል ራሱ በጣም ደስ የሚለኝ ከልጅነቴም
Of course, I really liked my career, especially at this moment when I see all Ethiopian people support us in many ways. I said my decision was right to be a soldier.
እኔ በዚህ ላይ የኢትዮጵያ ሕዝብ እንደዚህ ይወደናል መከላከያ እንደዚህ ያቃሉ ብዬ መግለጽ ራሱ
Really, this time is an incident for us to understand how the respect and loves of our people. Therefore, my passion is great to serve my country and people, and I would say thank you to all Ethiopian peoples.
ለኢትዮጵያ ሕዝብ በጣም ከምንም በላይ ምስጋና እናቀርባለን ላደረጉልን ነገር ሁሉ ከምንም በላይ ምስጋና አለኝ እላለሁ።
CEO of the Ethio Telecom, Freho Tamaru, said the Ethio Telecom in Northern District was attacked by illegal entities jointly with the Special Police Forces of Tigray and interrupted service throughout the region. TPLF internationally made that happen to create a convenient situation for the attack on the Northern Command, she said. The CEO said TPLF clique has been destroying many infrastructures in the region since the law enforcement operation began, and the telecom is among the first targets. Emmanuel Jorge has more on this.
Telecom services have been interrupted in Tigray since November 4, 2020, right at midnight. The CEO of Ethio Telecom, Freho Tamaru, briefed journalists that efforts have been made to access the north region through alternate roads to restart the service regardless of implausible situations to make that happen.
የተቋማችንስ ኢንሲደንትና ክራይሲስ ማኔጅመንት
Ethio Telecom has redundant routes to secure the service and mature governance in managing the incidents and crises. The current crisis is unprecedented since the telecom infrastructures were damaged in all alternative routes from Mekelle and Shire core sites, in addition to the commercial power blackout in the region. Our technical team arrived in Mekelle on December 3 and have found substantial information and evidence that external illegal entities supported by the Special Police Force entered our office in Mekelle forcefully and accessed our premises and caused a service outage in the region. I can't tell you each and every details because the case is held under investigation of the federal police. We have provided information and evidence from CCTV in the core sites and our systems to them for investigation. They will communicate the investigation result and possible legal actions to the public.
Freho said the National Telecommunication Service system has been facing increased but unsuccessful cyber attack attempts, reaching up to 39.8 billion trials since the law enforcement operation began in Tigray.
ከፍተኛ የሆነ ደግሞ የሳይበር አታክ ወደ ኢንፍራስትራክቸሩ
Apart from telecom service interruptions, massive cyber attack attempts have been made. Our data shows that in 14 days, over 39.8 billion cyber attack attempts have been inflicted. That means an average of 3.7 billion cyber attacks per day. We have prevented these massive cyber attacks, which are mainly denial of service and unauthorized access attempts. Government systems and sites, educational systems and sites, Ethio Telecom systems and infrastructures, broadcasting media systems and sites, and finance systems and sites are the main targets in the attempts.
Ethio Telecom has managed to resume telecom services in the areas such as Dansha, Humera, Maikadra, Turkan, Maitsabri and Koram partially, while the service has been fully restored in Alamata. According to Freho Tamaru, Ethio Telecom is working with Ethiopian Electric Utility, security apparatus and transition administration of the region to address the challenges and resume full telecom services across Tigray.
ከሰዓት በኋላ ወደ 11 ሰዓት ገደማ በጣም ነጫጭ ልብስ የለበሱ በነጠላ ጫማ የሚሄዱ ፈረንጅ የሚሸራቸርባት ከተማ ነበረች።
ከዚራ ውስጥ በዚህ በመንገድ ስንሄድ ድሮ የአበባው ሽታ 12 ሰዓት ላይ ማታ ልዩ ነበር። አያስሄድሽም ሽታው ቆንጆ ሽታ። አሁን ብታዩ በጣም ያሳዝናል። እንዴት ነው ማዝነው? ውሃ አለ፣ ሁሉ ነገር አለ። ምን አለ ቢተክሉ?
So I just got to Deer Dawa. I'm gonna find my taxi now.
You're watching ETV News. Meanwhile, the Ethiopian Electric Power announced that towns whose access to electricity was cut by the damage caused by the extremist TPLF clique will receive power by Sunday. The towns in Tigray region, which have been without power for a month following the TPLF extremist attack on power transmission infrastructure, are expected to get power within 4 days, it was learned. Ethiopian Electric Power Communication Director Mogas Makonnen said power had been disrupted for the past 4 weeks in all parts of Tigray. Ethiopian Electric Power has set up a committee to determine the extent of the damage and carry out maintenance by providing inputs and manpower, it was said. The United Kingdom is already administering COVID-19 vaccines to its citizens, and other Western countries expected to start their program soon. The